Maum Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasad Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namani. Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pacharane Nirvisesa Sunyavari Paskicha Deshatarne. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shri Gadadhar Shivasari Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Panchakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha. So today is actually an important talk I'd like to give about the struggle that many of us have in practicing Krishna consciousness, what we can expect and where we're at, but mostly what we can expect, which is very important. Many times we don't know what's ahead of us, and so that can be disheartening. So in the practice of Krishna consciousness, first of all, I was thinking about this today. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that the Maivamso Jiva Loke Jiva Bhuta Sanatana, the living entity, is a fragmental portion of myself, Krishna says, and he is currently in the material world struggling with the material, with the senses. So he's struggling. The word for struggling is karshati. And so when we come to Krishna consciousness and accept the shelter of the lotus feet of the spiritual master, it doesn't mean that all struggle is over. At the same time, there are certain aspects of the struggle which are over. So let me elaborate. When you are in the material world, you are literally floating with no shelter at all. And you're floating between karma and gyan, meaning karma, you're looking all the time for some fulfillment of sense gratification. The senses are always active. You're always looking to fulfill one of the senses or two or all of them as much as you can, because that is the nature of material life. So the fulfillment of sense gratification is called karma. And when someone gets tired of that and looks for an alternative, then he becomes a jnani. And so he hopes through gyan, he can distance himself from sense gratification and achieve moksha. So the two are always going back and forth for the living entity in the material world. He's either seeking sense gratification or seeking renunciation from sense gratification because it's poison. And then if he has some success in achieving some distance from sense gratification, because he's not Krishna conscious, he again comes back into the world of sense gratification. So that is what is meant by struggle. Now, when we come to Krishna consciousness, it's not that the moment we come into Krishna consciousness, all struggle ceases, because there's still desires that are outside of Krishna consciousness, still karmic reactions that we have to deal with, okay? The difference is the struggle that we go through as devotees is now we have shelter. We know what is our shelter. We know what is the goal, and we engage ourselves wholeheartedly to achieve it. Whereas in the material world, outside of Krishna consciousness, there is no knowledge of Krishna. There's no goal. That's the difference. In the material world, you're struggling because you're looking for sense gratification. In Krishna consciousness, you are struggling to become Krishna conscious. That is a worthwhile struggle. And every time we make that effort and struggle to become Krishna conscious, we're advancing. And that advancement it's like walking up the stairs. You're making progress. Now, what Arjuna says, what about that transcendentalist who doesn't complete his Krishna consciousness? Is everything gone? Is he a rent cloud, meaning is he just a cloud that is now evaporated? Is his progress done with the demise of the body? And Krishna says no. For one who has practiced transcendental life, he never loses any part of his devotion. So let's say during our journey as devotees, we're struggling, we're trying, okay, we're doing as best we can, trying to adhere to the spiritual master's instructions. But because of weakness of heart and we're not that advanced, there may be times when we go backwards a little bit, or we may even fall from the path temporarily. The advancement that we made up to that point is kept in our bank account, spiritual bank account, and overseen by the supersoul. It doesn't diminish and go away. The advancement is kept there. That is the power of the holy name and bhakti yoga that we have to understand. Because there will be times when we feel maybe we're moving sideways, maybe we've done something to go away from the path, or maybe we'll simply die and have not finished our Krishna consciousness. The struggle that we're undergoing is not in vain. Everything that we're doing is remembered by Lord Krishna, and when we come back, whenever that may be, we will take up the path from where we left off. The actual struggle, which is called, again, karshati, the actual struggle is pretty much non-existent. At some point in Krishna consciousness, that struggle is minimized so much that you don't feel the struggle. You have achieved a certain propensity, relationship, depth to your devotional service. Your karma is pretty much nullified to the extent where you're in control of your body. Your bodily activities are fairly minimized. You're not seeking new material relationships and new material things. You're over it. And your body, your mind, your facility is fixed in Krishna consciousness. And you become, for the most part, internalized. At that point, you are immune to the material world, much like, as Prabhupada said, a lotus flower that has a waxy substance around the base that keeps the water from coming onto the stem of the flower. And in the same way, our devotion, when it's matured, keeps the material desires from overwhelming us again. This is where we have control of the mind, we're peaceful, we're fixed, we can render devotional service in a mood that is satisfying to both us and to Lord Krishna. That will not leave. That, for the most part, that level of advancement is so sacred and so desirable that it becomes you. You won't lose it. It is your innerness of bhakti. It's so dear to you and so dear to Krishna that he will not allow it to escape. Meaning there may be temptations that are out there, but the level of intelligence and discrimination that you've achieved is so sharp that it's very difficult for these material desires to root again inside of your mind. they're pretty much kept at bay. And this way, throughout the day, you have that sacred ability to remember the Lord's lotus feet, to remember things about Lord Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, Srila Prabhupada. They naturally come into your mind. And this is in addition to the chanting, which you happily do. It's not a struggle. It's desirable. The prayer at that stage becomes, oh, Krishna, please just allow me to chant more and more and more. Please allow me to simply chant. Because the taste that one is receiving is clearly different than it was yesterday or 10 years ago or when you first began Krishna consciousness. This is a whole new dimension. It's the liberation of your mind and your intelligence and even your ego. You are a liberated soul in Krishna consciousness. So when we first come to Krishna consciousness, we're completely conditioned, completely. We don't understand the nuances of any literature and what we're reading. It's hard to understand anything. But because we persevere and because we do what we're asked to do by our spiritual master, we make rapid advancement relative to how many years we are Krishna conscious. If we compare the number of lifetimes that we're conditioned to the fact that we're advancing so quickly in Krishna consciousness, it's only due to the power and potency of Krishna's holy name. There's just no other reason for it. Because if you're a yogi, a religionist, a philosopher, or anyone else, you cannot make advancement like you can in Krishna consciousness. There is a magic, a power that you in the holy name that is not available anywhere else. And I know that, of course, as devotees, we all accept that. If you're new, you're listening. If you're experienced devotee, you know it. But if you're a non-devotee, you may have trouble believing it. And so there are many descriptions of the holy name which give the idea as to how potent it actually is. And you want to read these descriptions. Now, another thing that you could do and you should do, along with the Bhagavad Gita, which gives the descriptions, and along with the Nectar Devotion, which expands on the glories of the holy name, the Chaitanya Charitamrita is a phenomenal literature that delves into the actual sentiments of love that Krishna is experiencing in his mood as Radharani. These sentiments are so powerful because they are Mahabhav. Beyond just Bhav, this is Mahabhav. And the sentiments of love that Lord Chaitanya is constantly submerged in can be experienced by his devotees. And so that potency of his Bhav, Lord Chaitanya's Mahabhav, is a very powerful effect upon us. And that's why we can make such rapid advancement in Krishna consciousness. This is not a mild type of yoga, what we're doing. This is not mild. This is intense, okay? Look at the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, and especially the Anchalila. His pastimes were intense. So we should expect intensity in what we're doing because we are following in his footsteps. We are tasting what he is tasting. By his grace, it is being transferred to us because we're worshiping him. through the holy name. The holy name is giving us the bhav that Lord Chaitanya is experiencing. And so that is like a rocket ship. That is not a slow bus or a camel or a walk. That is a rocket ship. And that's why the holy names, as we say, Goloka e Premadan, these holy names descend from Goloka. But that doesn't give the real meaning, which is there's a descending. They're actually the sentiments of Radha for Krishna, because Radha is very unique. Her love amongst all the gopis is powerful. It's monumental. It's what's the word? Not aggressive, but it is not like, oh, she's not a wallflower. Radharani is very madly in love with Krishna, and she's able to conquer him by her sentiments. So she is constantly in this mode that nobody else has. And it's rare, rare, rare. Never before in this material planet has anyone been able to garner these sentiments of Radharani. They haven't been available ever. All the previous incarnations of Krishna do not give Radha Dasya. They don't. They give Vaikuntha Gyan, meaning Dattatreya, Kapila, all of these great incarnations of Krishna taught certain aspects about Vaikuntha, like the presiding deity of Vaikuntha, meaning Narayan. That was the destination for the last 3 yugas. And only in the Kali Yuga does Lord Chaitanya come to reveal this Radha Dasya. So as we become cleansed through this struggle to achieve Krishna consciousness, the fruit of what we will achieve is absolutely incredible. It is mind-boggling for us in this Kali Yuga to be in a position to experience these bhavas, and the names of these different aspects or symptoms of the bhavas are classified by Rupa Goswami. So never before has there been these bhavas, and let alone the classification of them. This is a new language. This is something never ever felt before by anyone on this planet. This is Lord Chaitanya's coming and giving the secret, the innermost secrets of Vrindavan that even many of the residents don't know about. The goings on the Madhurya level, the conjugal level between Radha and Krishna and the Manjaris and the Astasakis is just not known. It's so confidential that it hasn't been exposed. And this is what Lord Chaitanya is doing by his descending and his person and what he's giving. He is putting us on the path of tasting the mood of Radharani. So you will see amongst bhaktas incredible devotion. So at this stage of the worldwide movement of Krishna consciousness, we are at the infancy stage. Lord Chaitanya came 5 generations ago, 500 years ago. And in between, from about, I think it was around from Narottam to Srila Bhakti Vinod, there was a abeyance, or Vaishnavism, Gaudiya Vaishnavism, became somewhat hidden, the true aspect and the true practice. And you had these elements coming in to Gaudiya Vaishnavism to pollute it, or at least to transform it. Like you had the owls, the bowels, the Guranga Nagaris. They were using tantric aspects to promote Krishna consciousness, trying to understand Lord Chaitanya's bhav in the wrong way. They were trying to promote Krishna consciousness by imitation. And so Krishna consciousness went into despair. It went into the back seat. It went into the back burner. And not until Srila Bhaktivinoda did it get woken up again. And just to make sure that it wouldn't go down that path of Sahajya, Prakrita Sahajya, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta was very strict. He introduced sannyas, and he introduced a very high level of strictness because he didn't want to see that happen again. And our Srila Prabhupada had to do the same thing, although a little bit did he give brahmacharini, women in the West and around the world, entrance into Krishna consciousness more than ever before. So Srila Prabhupada applied what he thought and that we needed as Westerners in order to spread Krishna consciousness. So he gave that open door not only to men, but also to women. On the other, and he was even marrying couples in the beginning, along with making sannyasis. He was doing both at the beginning of Krishna consciousness. But he was very concerned that we would not, by engaging women and engaging men, he didn't want to see a problem occur. And magically, for the most part, it hasn't. And it dawned on me today that the idea of lust, which is a big problem for all of us, men, women in the material world, lust is a big problem. Krishna says lust is the all-devouring, sinful enemy of man. So for non-devotees, it's literally impossible to overcome. It is always there. It's a real problem, and it's very sad. For devotees, it's much easier to overcome. And when a woman, and bhakta, a bhaktin, right, a woman devotee sees men in Krishna consciousness, she doesn't become lusty. And when men see women in Krishna consciousness, they also don't become lusty. Now, I know you're going to think that that is wrong, and you're going to bring up evidence that proves me wrong. So let me explain. For the most part, a woman in Krishna consciousness, dressed appropriately, performing bhakti yoga and devotional service, is not promoting herself in a physically suggestive way. She's not promoting herself. Her entire mentality, her entire focus, as is the man, is learning about Krishna, education, practice, devotion, etc. It's all lined up devotionally and properly. So they're not, women and men don't give off the wrong vibe to each other. And that is why we can coexist so well together. And I have seen oftentimes that if a man, if he's a gentleman and he's a good devotee, if he's honest, and he does feel lusty, okay, in the beginning, especially in a younger age, then the guru will suggest he get married to a woman in Krishna consciousness. And that is perfectly fine. There is nothing negative about that. That is as good as sannyas, Prabhupada said. And to bring children up in Krishna consciousness is very necessary. And I'm going to talk about that in a moment. I have seen sometimes men who are lusty they will try to find women outside of Krishna consciousness because they're looking to fulfill their lusty desires. And so the women within Krishna consciousness are not causing men to fall down. So I believe as a society, we are perfectly perfect, that as long as Krishna is a center for us, we can interact with each other to a degree, right? Following certain protocols, we can interact, we can serve together, we can be in the same temple room together and chant. Women and men could live together in temples. It's not a problem because the lust factor is so diminished. I didn't want to forget this important point. Krishna consciousness, I mentioned earlier, we're in the incipient or the beginning stages. Since Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, Srila Prabhupada, we're in the beginning stages. But if you recall, and you've read Chaitanya Charitamrita, then you know that Vasudeva Datta had said to Lord Chaitanya that please put all of the sins of humanity upon me and liberate the world. And being an eternal associate of the Lord, he said to Vasudeva Datta, Lord Chaitanya said, you don't have to suffer in order for me to take all these living entities back home, back to Godhead. He said, I will fulfill your desire and I will liberate the entire universe. So it dawned on me that that prophecy is still yet to come. And so over the next 9,500 years, we're going to see an absolute mushrooming of Krishna consciousness. Like none of us are going to be around to see it, but it will absolutely happen because it is the prophecy of Lord Chaitanya. This holy name is resonating now, and it will resonate more and more and more all around the world, and it will lift up everybody. And in the process, there will be many Vaishnav couples that will be practicing and giving birth to wonderful Vaishnav children. And many of these Vaishnav children are going to be so advanced in order to help push on the movement that they will literally be Krishna conscious from birth. So there's really 3 types of experiences that one can have as a devotee in Krishna consciousness. Some of us are so new, or I should say, yes, so new and very covered to the experience of Krishna consciousness that we will not experience what we're meant to experience for a long time in this lifetime. It may not fully mature until we are much older. Then there are some devotees who actually have had experience in Krishna consciousness from a previous life to the point where by their midlife, they have become very advanced. They have surpassed their previous life, and they are very advanced to the point where they are Madhyamadikari or Kanishta Uttama or Madhyam Uttama. They are fixed, and the rest of their life, they're interested in Harinam, in writing, in preaching, in pujari work. They're fixed. And that's happening by their midlife. Then there are those that are being born in our Krishna conscious movement, who are from a very, very young age making such rapid advancement because their parents are devotees. And so they're exposed so much to bhakti that within a very short period of time, they're running with Krishna consciousness. They know the Bhagavad Gita. They know many verses by heart. They see the deity. They chant their rounds. They love prasadam. They can't imagine life outside of Krishna consciousness. And so that would be, that's happening now. And then there are going to be, the fourth is we Vaishnavas, who are literally, as I said, born in the movement, pure devotees. All of these taken together are going to push the boundaries of Lord Chaitanya's movement. More and more temples are going to be established, more and more, I mean, everywhere. It's going to take over. It's going to compete with the other religions of the world. People are going to find Krishna consciousness is the best thing. It's going to take time. It's not going to happen tomorrow. It's over a period of 9,500 years. But this is going to happen. There will be basically a return to Vedic Dharma, because this is the golden age of Lord Chaitanya. So this Dharma, the Vedic Dharma, will be again. So it'll be like Vaikuntha on this planet. Very, very transcendentally wonderful. The vibration of the planet is going to change immensely. Meat eating will have stopped. There will be cow protection. There'll be fields, milk. People are going to come to their senses. There's going to be a large number of people practicing Krishna consciousness. This is the divine order of Lord Chaitanya. He's going to spread this movement more and more and more. And it's wonderful. And literally, if you're here in 5, 6, 7, 8,000 years, demigods will be able to be seen in the sky. That's how pure it's going to be. The vibration, the Hare Krishna mantra, and Lord Chaitanya are going to make this world extremely elevated. We're going to be on a reverse course from what we are now. Now, after the 9,500 years, or a total of 10,000 years, then there will be a preponderance again of materialism. And at that point, for the rest of the Kali Yuga, it's going to be hell. It's going to be hell. That's the prophecy. So at least we know that the golden age is with us. And so we have 9,500 more years of expanding Krishna consciousness. Will there be demons trying to stop us? Absolutely. It's not a cakewalk. There will be a lot of resistance. And we'll be expert at opposing the demons. We'll get help from even the demigods. We will push on this movement because it cannot be stopped. So it'll be really, really wonderful. Meanwhile, the opportunity for you and I, this window that we can literally walk through in order to go back to home, back to Godhead, is upon us. We've made it to this point, and if we simply take up the instructions and practice our bhakti yoga, we can return to, or we can make it to Gokul in our next life, where we can get fully trained and achieve prem, pure, unadulterated love for Krishna. And from there, Prabhupada explains, we go to the apakrit, or the unmanifest pastimes, which is Goloka Vrindavan. That is our path. That is the path of every living entity who takes up Krishna consciousness. It is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to divest ourselves of sinful activities and sinful life and achieve happiness, joy, inner prosperity, knowledge, clarity, everything in one life. And that's because of the potency of the holy name. So for those that are not yet practicing, I want to encourage you as much as possible to read Bhagavad Gita, read Chaitanya Charitamrita, read Srimad Bhagavatam. Try to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Try to understand what we're doing and compare what we are offering to what you have. The conception, the Gaudiya Vaishnav conception, meaning the ontological conception of the universes, the transcendental conception of the Lord, the living entity, and the material world, the practice of Krishna consciousness. Try to understand the language of bhakti that is being presented. If you can wrap your head around this Gaudiya Vaishnava conception, you will find it to be absolutely amazing. It is a clear answer to religion, to God, to the purpose of life. It is the best answer you'll ever receive. It surpasses any other mediating religion on the planet today and any Hindu religion or Hindu understanding. This is Sanatan Dharma. This is the eternal process that we are exposing people to. And even more so than that, it is the Goloka Vrindavan conception of Sanatan Dharma. So try to get schooled. This is not just Hinduism. This is Vedic culture, Vedic Dharma. Vedic Dharma. It's the oldest and wisest and clearest and most intelligent religion on earth. It teaches you how to give up false bodily identification and realize you are an eternal living being, and that Krishna is the supreme living being that you are a part of, and that you are that you have a relationship with. He is the supreme being. It's hard to understand that by simple mental speculation will never, ever, ever allow you to understand that. You can never figure this out, ever. It has to be delivered. You cannot figure it out. Look at some of the brightest people in the world and what they've come up with. Dark holes, or these black holes, and these empty voids and stars millions of light years away, or sometimes they talk about the minutia of the atom and the proton and the neutron, and that's all they have. They're trying to look at the most minute and the greatest, and they're still baffled. There's no name, there's no understanding, there's no path of spirituality. Excuse me. Krishna consciousness addresses all of that. So you would be doing yourself such a disservice by not looking into Krishna consciousness. Such a disservice. And the only reason that you wouldn't do it is because your mind is so busy with sense gratification, trying to enjoy the impossible, that you're wasting your time so much you cannot give any time to your eternal well-being, which is your spirit soul. You're not looking after your soul if you can't come to Krishna consciousness. You're only looking after your body, and that is a huge mistake, because the body is destined for death. It's destined for vultures to eat it. It's destined for someone to burn it. It has no future, nowhere. And all you're doing all day is pampering it. What about the soul inside? The Vedas give you the information to the pathway for to go inside. You can't get inside yourself without the help of the Vedas and the spiritual master who's compiled them and explaining them to us. You can't transcend your own mind or ego without that help. It won't happen. No matter how hard you try through sense gratification or yoga or meditation of a different nature than what we're doing, you will not get inside yourself. You will not transcend your mind. This can only be done through Krishna consciousness. It's a very powerful process. And unless you're transcending your mind and your senses, you are not going to achieve any happiness. What we think is happiness is nothing but bodily sense gratification. It's very, very fleeting. It only appears to be happiness, but it's not happiness at all. It's only in your mind. It comes and goes. Today I'm happy, tomorrow I'm not. Yesterday I was. I mean, it's just fleeting because material life is based on bodily happiness. If you're sick, you're not happy. If your dinner wasn't really good, you're not happy. If your wife leaves you, you're not happy. If your husband's a drunk, you're not happy. If the television program was not good, you're not happy. If the pizza was good, you're happy. Then the next day the pizza's not good, you're not happy. Just see, everything is based on the body. And the body's destined to die. Even your mother and your father are going to die if they haven't already died. You're going to die. Nothing is worth anything on the bodily platform. Not until you've entered into this higher state of spirituality will you have the slightest bit of real happiness. We are encouraging, inviting all to come and check this out. Check out Krishna consciousness. Check it out. It is so perfect from every aspect, and we want people to learn about it. We're not going to ram it down your throat. There's no reason to. We're not telling you you're going to hell like evangelical Christians might. We're not doing that. They don't know. That's not how Krishna consciousness works. We are, because you have free will. That's how Krishna sees everything. If you don't want to become God conscious, then continue in the material world. No one's forcing, Krishna says. But if you see and understand how things work, then you will voluntarily give up the pursuit of sense gratification and pursue the higher and the inner. Krishna makes it very easy. Where you might think that spiritual life is hard and controlling the mind is hard and meditation is hard. I'm telling you, Krishna makes it easy. Now, I was meditating before I was a devotee, and that was hard. I couldn't keep my mind still. No one can keep their mind still. No one. But if you understand God, the way he is being presented and the way he presents himself, and you can, with love and devotion, appreciate the beauty, the wisdom, the knowledge, the form of Lord Krishna, your mind in time will become so attached to Krishna, the transcendental supreme being, you will miraculously see that your mind doesn't wander. Say what you want, but the proof is in the tasting. If you devote yourself to Krishna, you will lose attraction for everything else in the material world, even your own body. You will lose your strong attachment, false attachment to yourself. We're all thinking, I'm this, I'm that, all these different completely self-absorbing ideas about the self. We're holding tight mentally and physically. We're holding tight to what we think is ourself. And if you chant the names of God, this selfish identity with the body, you'll let it go. You'll let the false identity of yourself go. I'm not this name. I'm not this man. I'm not this woman. I'm not just part of this family. I'm not just part of this nation. I am a spiritual individual beyond the body, beyond name, beyond form. I'm a spiritual individual, and I have an eternal relationship with Krishna or God. That's the power of spiritual life and bhakti yoga. We want to cross that ocean of illusion, the illusion of names. They're like bubbles on the ocean. We want to cross over that ocean and come to a safe harbor where there's reality. And that has to be beyond this body. The body is growing. The body's getting old. We know the body will die, but the soul goes on. And if we're not schooled in the eternal nature, our eternal nature, and what is our real purpose, all we're doing now is preparing ourselves in the wrong way for our next life in the material world. We'll come back, and whatever we did now, we'll just do it again. Do it again, do it again, like a hamster wheel. Why do you need to remain on this hamster wheel? It's stupid. Anyone who is living this material life and not inquiring into their spiritual life is made stupid by the material energy. And why would you want to consider yourself to be stupid? You'll never overcome the illusion that the rope is a snake or the snake is a rope. Never. He who can break that illusion and see that it's not a snake, but it's a rope, he is a liberated soul. Many, many liberated persons, many persons will become liberated by this Krishna consciousness movement. So rather than take birth again and go through material life as you're doing now, we welcome you to look into Krishna consciousness, to take it up, and to experience liberation from the material body and awakening of love for God. Thank you for listening. Hare Krishna.